Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon to some. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Eric Chess. I'm a clinical professor at the University of Denver's Nobel Institute for Healthy Aging. I run the Paul Freeman Financial Security Program at the university and work closely with a broad partnership to lead the Colorado Older Adults Financial Justice Coalition, which you'll hear a little bit more about in a bit. We have an outstanding program today, including a fantastic presentation highlighting new data from AARP's 2024 ElderWatch Survey. But before we get to that, it is my distinct honor to introduce the Colorado Attorney General, Phil Weiser, who has exhibited outstanding leadership in the state of Colorado and in the entire country in so many areas, including financial justice and empowerment for older adults. With that, I'll hand it over to Attorney General Phil Weiser.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you to DU for your leadership in this area. I've shared with you, Eric, a speech that I gave recently that's right on point. I'll borrow from some of the remarks, but please share it with others. AARP and the Colorado Older Adult Financial Justice Coalition is doing incredibly important work because this is a difficult time for older adults. The painful reality is for those who are caring for older adults, you need to be scared. The opportunity for scammers right now are perhaps at an all-time high. We need to work on two fronts, and I want to mention a little about both of them. First is the prevention side, and then second is how we hold accountable those bad actors who are preying on older Coloradans and vulnerable Coloradans. On the prevention side, I want to mention a great effort we have going on. If people are interested, please take a look at it. It's our Office of Financial Empowerment, OFE for short. One of the goals is financial security, and that's something that unfortunately is all too top of mind for older adults, many of whom are vulnerable to exploitation and who can benefit from financial coaching and counseling. We've been working hard to build this muscle, to build a network of financial empowerment, financial coaching. Please learn more about what we're doing at OFE. We've worked actually with the Older Adults Financial Justice Coalition, and we're appreciative of the leadership here. So keep that in mind. Also keep in mind that we're doing something called the Bank On Initiative. It is painful how many Coloradans are unbanked. This is a reality that has all sorts of negative side effects, including those relying on check cashing services and are thus more vulnerable to being exploited and taken advantage of. I mentioned the outset AARP. We've got a partnership over 20 years with this well-regarded organization, and it comes from a predecessor, Ken Salazar, who recognized that his dad was being preyed on as he was responding to false solicitations. So Ken said, what do we do? And talked to AARP, and well, we're 20 years later, and this partnership is going strong. We have a ElderWatch program where we tend to hold regular teletown halls. We've got one actually tomorrow. And a goal is to protect older Coloradans from those scams that are unfortunately rising in their effectiveness. One of the upsides is how many stories I'm now hearing on these town halls where people are seeing the signs of a scam. When they get text messages or emails or see social media posts, they remember what we talked about. And they said, double check. And this is important. When you see these scams and they seem like they're too good to be true and you're wondering, is it real? Here's how you know. Don't respond. Follow up with your organization. Could be your bank, could be your healthcare provider, and say, I heard about this message that said I was in trouble and I had to pay money right away. Is it real? 99.9% of the time, it's not real. These threatening messages are the stock in trade of scammers, and we know older adults are more and more victimized by them. Let me mention one that's so painful, and it's becoming more prevalent, particularly with artificial intelligence, imposter scams. There are different versions of this. One is you get a call from your local county sheriff who says you didn't show up for jury duty, and you've got to send fill in the blanks, gift cards, wire transfer, Bitcoins, sources of funds that you won't get back. By the way, if you use your credit card for transactions, you have a potential recourse to get money back. But if you send someone Bitcoins or gift cards or a wire transfer, the chances are extraordinarily small that you'll ever get back your money. Another imposter scam, someone calls, says, I'm either a friend of your grandson, or with AI, artificial intelligence, you can make it sound like it was a message from the grandson saying, I'm in jail in Spain. Please send money to help me get out. These sorts of scams, unfortunately, are very effective. They prey on people's fears. Some scams prey on people's hopes. Dating scams, for example, which are also on the rise. Please be careful. Do your homework. Don't act quickly. And when you know about scams, let us know about them at stopfraudcolorado.gov. We also have a phone number. It's 1-800-222-4444. Again, that's stopfraudcolorado.gov or 800-222-4444. I mentioned before, it's important we hold wrongdoers accountable. This is a core part of what we do. We have lawyers in our consumer protection section and our criminal justice section to take action. One of our units is actually on Medicaid fraud. We know a lot of older adults rely on Medicaid for health care, sometimes in conjunction with Medicare, or maybe they're not eligible for a particular Medicare offering. We've gotten back millions of dollars that have been defrauded. One case involves Regeneron Pharmaceuticals, and they engaged in fraudulent drug price reporting. This was for an eye medication. And what they were doing is providing kickbacks for this drug that was used for macular degeneration. And they basically defrauded taxpayers of millions of dollars. We took action. We're also continuing looking at how other fraudsters are preying on older adults. There was one that very much apropos of what Ken Salazar was concerned about. We worked with the Wyoming Attorney General against two companies who targeted consumers with deceptive magazine mailers. And mostly it was older adults who got what they thought was a renewal notice to a magazine they're already subscribed to. However, the money never got to the publisher. This company pocketed it. We got a lot of complaints, and we took action. In fact, the complaints we're getting now are more than ever. We get over 20,000 a year, and they range in different categories. The top 5 often are retail sales. This can include something like an auto renewal problem, or like that magazine example I just gave. It could be professional services that sometimes involve someone holding themselves out, offering a service they don't offer. Automobile sales have been rising, and services like the warranty robocalls you're probably getting. Home services, repair, contractor fraud is a big concern. And then I mentioned imposter scams is rising. We really need to stay on top of all these. People need to become more vigilant, and please, when you hear about them, let us know about it so we can do something. I want to note that some of these actions we take criminal actions. One was a contractor fraud case in Jefferson County where someone was engaging in a scam where they said, we'll cut your trees for you. They took the money but didn't cut the trees. And that individual is now serving 8 years in prison. Unfortunately, they defrauded 50 individuals before we were able to take action. And we again saw a lot of older Coloradans as the victims, majority. There is a sentence enhancer when older Coloradans are taken advantage of. But here's the key point. If you know of people, or if you're working with people who've been defrauded, we need to break through the stigma. A lot of people feel embarrassed or ashamed, and they don't actually report these frauds. And that means they go on for longer and hurt more people. So please know this is out there and let us know about it. I want to make a few other points before I leave you guys. One is that we're really concerned about your data. We passed a special law to govern data privacy in Colorado, and we need to make sure that consumers' data is protected where it isn't protected. As an example, a skilled nursing facility in Broomfield didn't do what it needed to protect information of patients and caregivers, and a lot of personal data ended up in the wrong hands. They're going to have to change their practices and pay a fine. And we're going to keep sending this message like we did with another case involving Marriott, whereas you don't protect your data, we're going to take action, we're going to make you do it, and we're going to hold you to account. This is a big problem. We also are worried about rising prices for older Coloradans at the grocery store, and that's why we're challenging this merger between Kroger and Albertsons. We're worried about potential food deserts that could happen and the choice of food or access to local food being harmed from this merger as well. Of course, prices going up and losing access to some of the specials. We're hearing a lot of different concerns coming, particularly for older Coloradans around food. Please stay engaged with our office. Let us know what you're seeing. We need you to be our eyes and ears. We also have been taking action in the generic drug area. We know prices have been rising for access to drugs, and there was a price fixing conspiracy. We got the first company to essentially pay a fine and then to work with us to help us go after other companies. We have another price fixing case we're taking for corporate landlords using this software called RealPage, helping corporate landlords raise prices through price fixing. In short, it's hard to be a consumer right now. You feel like the deck is stacked against you, where you're getting these junk fees sometimes that you're not sure if they're real. And we had another case involving junk fees where there was this moving out fee that was being charged, but it hadn't been disclosed. We're with you. And what I want everyone to know is our job in the Attorney General's office is to be the people's lawyer. When you're mistreated, we're there for you. That's our true north, is we serve the people of Colorado, and we're committed to promoting justice, which means holding accountable wrongdoers and restoring harm any way we can. What really is hard for us is that we don't have as many people on our team to take on all the cases we wish we could, which means if you report something to us, there's a decent chance we're not going to be able to take on every case. We do have a mediation program that we'll use with some reputable companies to make sure that people are getting treated fairly. And as we see complaints pile up, like they did in that tree trim scam I mentioned, or this junk fee case involving a realty company, we can then take action on behalf of a critical mass. And sometimes what's being done is so egregious that we will take that case and see if we can do justice. But sadly, we're seeing a lot more injustice out there than we ourselves can correct, which is why we need to make this a team effort. We need all of you as part of our eyes and ears, part of our ambassadors to spread the word about what are the tricks and what are the traps that unfortunately consumers can get caught up in. If you can do that work of helping spread the word, we'll help avoid these harms from happening. And that's what we want to do, is help prevent these harms where we can. We'll go after the harms also where we can. And we'll work to create an environment in Colorado where we celebrate responsible businesses, where we work with them like we do with the Bank On Initiative, and we go after those irresponsible businesses who are harming people. That's the spirit of our work. It's really an honor to be able to do it. And it's important that we have partners, like the partners here today. As I often say, our democracy is not a spectator sport, it's a team sport. Eric, thank you for being such a great leader of this team. Appreciate you bringing all these people together, and I'll turn the mic back over to you.
Thank you so much, Attorney General Weiser. We are so grateful for your leadership and your work in Colorado, not only benefiting all Coloradans, but acting as a national model for the ways to do things. Office of Financial Empowerment, Bank On, Stop Fraud, all of the work that you're doing is so appreciated. Before we get to the main presentation, from AARP Senior Advisor Mark Federoff, I'd like to briefly talk about this Colorado State Coalition. It's the Colorado Older Adults Financial Justice Coalition. We are a close-knit team that has been working together for years and just formally established in 2023 with a grant from the National Center for State and Tribal Elder Justice Coalitions. And you can see in this slide, our partners leading the coalition, which has been rapidly growing. And it's intended to increase efficiency, reduce redundancy, learn from each other, not only current best practices and prevention and increasing awareness, but on collectively looking into the future, as Attorney General Weiser was discussing, on best next steps to take. So the Colorado Older Adults Financial Justice Coalition, our goals initially established were four goals. One, to continue to build this coalition and hear the voices throughout Colorado and beyond, but to develop innovative solutions to better protect individuals, including a financial vulnerability and empowerment intervention that we're working on together. Also enhance access to resources for all Coloradans. And then provide training and support for frontline workers broadly, government, social services, the financial institutions, and industry. So we are grateful to our funder for formally establishing this coalition and providing that funding for us to go further. And now it's a pleasure to hand off to another one of our core leadership partners, Bettina Morrow, the interim director for the state of Colorado's Adult Protective Services. Bettina?
Thank you, Eric. It's a pleasure to be here today, and I'm just going to take just a few moments to talk a little bit more about the coalition before we hand it over to the main event that you're all here for. But we are really excited to be talking more about the coalition and about some of the exciting opportunities that we have to A, provide to all of you, but B, how you can all also be a part of the coalition and the work that we're doing. So as Eric mentioned, we have been working together in the coalition. It's a multidisciplinary team for a number of years. And we've continued to go from strength to strength as the years have gone by. And we're looking forward to moving into our new year, 2025, with, as you can see, quite a list of endeavors and goals that we have. So to recap on some of those, we are very much looking for further opportunities to build our relationships with all of you who work in this industry, who are strong advocates and are committed to addressing and combating, including prevention of financial exploitation and other areas of exploitation of our older adults in Colorado. We are looking at doing a number of areas such as building the coalition, building a resource hub, which you're going to hear about a little bit more in detail shortly. We are creating a very exciting training that is going to be really focused on supporting our frontline workers, our financial institutions, law enforcement, and adult protective services. And adult protective services staff will be our first frontline workers that we will be providing this training to really help build the confidence and the skills they need to address this level of mistreatment. And as many of you know, financial exploitation is one of our fastest growing mistreatments of older adults that we see across the United States. And I know that I also don't need to be reiterating how much that this type of abuse actually costs, not just the individual that experiences it, but our society as a whole, costing us billions and billions of dollars in not just financial loss, but also the human loss to people's physical health, mental health, relationships, dynamics, and to our state with increased needs in services being provided. We are in the coalition also looking at other ways that we can provide positive impact, potentially through legislation, to support the involvement of the work that we're doing. And very excitingly, the University of Denver is in the midst of creating a financial vulnerability scale empowerment tool that we're aiming will be something that can be used in the field for many frontline workers to help do some of those screenings for early detection. So we look forward to hearing some further information as that gets developed by the university. And lastly, another area that we're looking at is the opportunity for partners to actually formalize partnership with us. So we are wanting to explore options of funding for relationship building for further investment so that the work that we're doing can be sustainable for the future in our commitment to supporting older adults in Colorado. So ways that all of you can be involved in the work that we're doing here. You will see that there is email contact details for Jody Catlow and for Dr. Eric Chess. We encourage you to please reach out to them and give them your knowledge, share your experiences, share your opinions on what you think would be valuable, share your knowledge in how that could be contributed into the training, or if you are open to potentially partnering, whether it be through your knowledge, your expertise, or financially, please don't hesitate to reach out to them and start a conversation as to how you can also be participating. There are other areas that you can be involved, such as completing the Coalition Needs Assessment, which is accessed through a survey. And most importantly, please watch out for our newsletters, our updates, and any additional symposiums or events we have, as we continue to provide everyone with updates on the progress that we are making in the coalition. It is exciting for me to be able to share that this coalition is not just something we are proud that we have created in Colorado, but is a coalition that has gained significant national attention in recognizing the progress and the innovation that we are making here. So we welcome you to please join us in the progress of what we are doing in our advocacy for everyone. Thanks, Eric.
Thanks so much, Bettina. At this point, we're going to hand off to another core partner of ours from CCRAP, and that is Candace Johnny, who's been, one of the major contributors and collaborators in our core leadership team. Candace?
Thank you. And next slide, please. Good morning, everyone. My name is Candace Johnny. I work at the State Unit on Aging at the Colorado Department of Human Services. I chair the Colorado Coalition for Elder Rights and Abuse Prevention, CRAP. CRAP has been around for over 30 years. Our mission is to promote a statewide understanding of elder abuse and the rights and protections available to elders and at-risk adults. CRAP provides education, quarterly training, and a resource website. We are very excited to be here today as we share in the momentum that is building to prevent elder abuse in Colorado, especially financial exploitation. We have learned over the past several years that from a public health perspective, that changes not occur without collaboration. Today, I am witnessing the greatest collaborative approach to ending financial exploitation that Colorado has ever experienced. In this audience are individuals from academia, state agencies, banks and credit unions, nonprofits, national entities like AARP ElderWatch, law enforcement agencies, district attorneys, the medical profession, the Colorado Attorney General's office, and many others. In the future, CRAP and Colorado Department of Human Services plan to update the CRAP website to make it a comprehensive resource hub that will provide information, links, and training for those who work in the aging space. And as Bettina mentioned, you might be wondering how you can become more involved, and here are just a few ideas. Join an Elder Justice Coalition, invite others to join the CRAP Steering Committee, attend CRAP quarterly trainings, learn what is happening at a state and national level in elder justice work, return any surveys that come out to help elder justice advocates learn about the barriers that you all face as individuals who work with older adults. Provide data and share success stories. And if you have any questions, contact me at candace.johnny@state.co.us. My contact information will be included with the slides that get sent out. And thank you so much for being here today and partnering with us.
Thanks so much, Candace, for all the work that you do. And now I'm really happy to turn it over to our main event, and that is to highlight new data from AARP's 2024 ElderWatch Survey. And I'll hand it to Mark Federhoff. Mark and I and the entire group have actually really been working together for years, and so we're proud and honored to have him talk about this, the newest data from this survey, which will be very revealing. Mark is a senior advisor to AARP, and obviously AARP has been a leader in this field, and so we're grateful to partner. Mark?
Awesome. Thank you so much. And again, I'm thrilled to be here. I'm thrilled with the work of the coalition that has been going on for the past couple of years. Again, thank you, Dr. Chess and Jody, for being such great organizers and leaders in this space. Really appreciate it. Also want to thank a couple of other people. Attorney General Weiser, thank you so much for taking time today, and his staff. That's always so wonderful to work with. Elliot and his team and I have formed a great partnership as well. And so, again, really appreciate the work of the Attorney General's office and his dedication to being here and caring about this issue. I want to thank all of the folks at AARP who have been, a part of this and doing this work for a long time. All my colleagues and all of our volunteers who just do an amazing job helping people every day, educating them about fraud and making sure that they have the proper next steps when they do experience some type of scam or fraud issue. I also have my research partner from AARP Research who's on today in case there's any questions specifically about methodology. Rebecca, thanks so much for being here, and thanks for the hard work on this report and this project. And I'm thrilled to have you here, and I hope you don't have to answer any questions, but at the same time, I'm really glad that you're here just in case you do. So thank you so much for that. And again, I can't say enough about this coalition. And so when Jody told me, just before we got on here, there's almost 200 people that had registered for this event, that makes me really excited. And I think that there has been, times where, working with the folks at DU and working with Candace and other folks on kind of one-off projects, but I feel like right now there's a lot of momentum just in terms of, it makes me really happy to see all those partners on the screen from the logos that you saw earlier. And so just seeing that makes me excited. And when I thought about how we should release this data, in the past, when we've done surveys like this, we've focused really on the media as our main way of doing this, and haven't honestly gotten that great of response. And I decided to take a step back and think, we have this great coalition of partners who cares about this issue immensely, and I think they're the proper people to know about this first. And so that's why you all are here today. And again, thank you for everyone who registered and being part of this coalition and being an active part of it. Again, thanks again to Jody and Dr. Chess and Candace and Bettina for your leadership in this coalition. Again, everyone's input as we move forward is just going to make it better, and hopefully this will help. And that's why, again, I wanted to bring this information to this group first and foremost. So for those of you who are not familiar with ElderWatch, just a little bit of information about ElderWatch. You already heard from the Attorney General. It's a partnership that's been going on for over 20 years, and it's one that's unique. There's no other program exactly like ElderWatch in any other state in the country, and it's really a testament to the Colorado Attorney General's office for continuing to fund this work and making sure that we have a dedicated program in Colorado, again, that's reaching out to older adults to try and educate them about fraud, scams, and all the things that are coming their way. And in addition to the work that we do in education, we also have a helpline, as part of the Colorado Attorney General's consumer complaint line. And I'll share that information for those of you who are not aware of it as we keep going. But again, ElderWatch, a program that was started by then Attorney General Ken Salazar, and it's been continued ever since. And so really appreciate all of the attorney generals who have viewed this program as important and a success. Before we jump into the report, I just wanted to level set what we're talking about today in terms of the scams that we're hearing about on our helpline from older Coloradans. I literally pulled this data this morning because I wanted the freshest, best data for you all. And the Attorney General talked about it too with regards to identity theft. That's what we're hearing as well from Coloradans, and that's what we're hearing on a national level too as part of AARP's Fraud Watch Network helpline. Identity theft has been the most common kind of complaint that we've heard about, and the most victims that we're hearing from on our helpline have to do with identity theft. And so that's no different in Colorado. I'm not going to go through this whole list, but I just wanted everyone, I know you all are very familiar with these scams, but I wanted you all to see the most kind of recent information that I mostly do my presentations about when I'm talking to older consumers around Colorado about these issues. And so, again, you can see what we're hearing about, and again, imposter business scams, you can see there, lots of them are Amazon related or PayPal related, that type of thing, tech support, computer virus scams, phishing, home repair. Attorney General mentioned that as well. And non-stranger exploitation, unfortunately, a lot of those referrals from ElderWatch will go to APS. But again, you can see the rest. I'm not going to go through them all, but I thought it would be helpful just as in the context of the information that we're hearing about today. So about this survey, just a little bit more, kind of the basics. So since I've been the program manager for ElderWatch, I'm just hitting my 9th year as the program manager for ElderWatch. And this is the 4th survey that we have done with AARP Research. And so, again, we're very lucky to have additional support from the Attorney General's office to be able to do things like this. And so it really, not every state is able to do this. I will say that frankly, and we can, because again of the generous support from the Attorney General's office and how they provide to ElderWatch. But so this is the fourth survey. The last one that we did, that was a fraud survey that was kind of that would run parallel to this, was in 2020. And as you can imagine, 2020 was a little bit different. And we were asking a lot of questions with regard to COVID and life with COVID. We asked questions about price gouging, different types of kind of items like that we didn't necessarily think fit with this survey, but we did ask a handful of the same questions, and you'll see that as I run through the report. You'll see comparisons from some of that data that we did in 2020 and some significant changes, and I think some significant, again, like knowledge for us as we move forward about how things are changing, whether it be the types of scams that are out there or communication methods that people prefer, that type of a thing as well. All of the surveys that we have done are on the website. If you go to AARPElderWatch.org, you will find them there. If you're looking for other ones, all of the annotated questionnaires and the reports are all there as well. So if you want to look at those, they're there. We also did a financial literacy-based survey in August of 2021. And so there's great information in that survey, but again, it's more financial literacy based. And again, with the guys from the 2020 and 2021 surveys, with differences in the world because of the pandemic and that type of a thing, but at the same time, great information in there. But I know just a lot has changed in the last 4 years, and so we're kind of back to hopefully normal for a while too. And we'll see there too, when we're looking at this data, you will also notice there's a lot of comparisons between Colorado adults 18 to 49 and then Colorado adults 50 and over. And so again, when we're looking at this data, I'm not going to talk about every comparison with every question that we asked. But again, as you see these slides, hopefully you'll understand a little bit more with this background information. So I turned my report upside down, and because I wanted everyone to be on the same page. Usually the methodology and the demographics are kind of at the end of a report like this, but I wanted to put them at the beginning just so you could see again who we're asking these questions and how the survey worked. So fully transparent in all of this, how it worked. You can see I'm not going to read through all of this, but again, half of the people that were surveyed were 18 to 49, and the other half were over 50. The survey was completed during the month of June, and you can see how the methodology went. That was through half phone and half non-probability online surveys as well. And so we worked with the research firm, Allen Newman Research, a DC-based firm who does a lot of this work and who has been a partner with us a lot over the years in terms of they work directly with the AARP research team to do this. So just a little bit more about the methodology of this survey and the demographics. So 907 people were interviewed as part of this survey, and then you can see the breakdown from 18 to 34 and then 35 to 49. That represents half of the survey, and then 50 to 64 and 65 plus, again, the other half of the survey there. You can see, again, equal men and women, and the rest of the kind of demographics that are there. Similar to what you expect in Colorado, I think, but at the same time, very representative. So this is a beautiful cover of the survey, just so when you're ready to dive into it yourself. And I will, just because I know it's always the first question that people ask is yes, we will send out the link to where this report is. I don't have a pretty vanity URL yet, but we're in the process of getting one. But we will send out the link in the coming days, so you guys can all access this information very easily. But at the same time, I will tell you, I just checked today to make sure if I couldn't get a vanity URL, if you go to just Google AARP Fraud Survey 2024, it'll be the first thing that comes up. It was just posted 2 days ago, and it'll be the first thing that comes up. So it's very easy to find that page as well if you get antsy and don't want to wait. So just before I get started here, again, my day job is talking to older consumers about fraud. I very rarely get to do this type of geeking out and reporting on survey data. And so bear with me here. There's a lot of information here. It is a little bit overwhelming for me. I've gone over this report, I don't know, for the last 6 months, probably probably a million times. And so I find new nuggets every time I look at it. And just kind of bear with me as I go through the data. Again, I'm mostly used to talking about Amazon imposter scams and text messages that you're getting from the United States Postal Service, which I know you all are. So here we go. The first section of the report talks about online accounts. So to be part of the survey, you have to be, you have to say that you are a 18 plus Coloradan and you have access to the internet as part of your daily life. And so that kind of level sets everyone in the same place. And then things were kind of broken out based on age. So again, not surprisingly, many Coloradans 18 plus have online access and set up for their financial accounts. And so again, you look at the breakdowns here of the total population, total 18 plus population, about 60%. And then you look, there's a bit of discrepancy between people who are 18 and 49 who are using online accounts on a regular basis. There's quite a few more than those 50 plus, but still half of older Coloradans, and I'm just going to use older Coloradans generically. I don't necessarily think 50 is that old, but as I'm like approaching that age, but I will just say that you'll see, but again, there's obviously more people 18 to 49 who have access to their financial online accounts. And as we're going through these slides too, I'll just point to the very bottom of the screen. There's a fine print that says Q2, and it is the exact question that was asked as part of the survey. So you again have that idea, and I don't want to, again, if I misconstrue something, you can always look down to that very kind of bottom print at the bottom of the screen to know what the exact question was that would ask of each survey participant. So when you're looking this as well, this information here is that that I thought was very interesting is that younger people, though they have more access to these online accounts, they are less likely to be checking them regularly. And so again, you can see that the older adults who do have access to these online accounts are checking them, 3/4 of them are checking them very regularly, and the other, 20% are checking them occasionally. And then again, looking at the younger population in this situation, 67% are checking them regularly, 27% checking them occasionally. So again, maybe the older adults in this situation may be a little bit more vigilant, or at least says so in this data. So since 2020, I thought this was actually a very interesting takeaway as well, but with regards to peer-to-peer payment apps, and when I'm talking about peer-to-peer payment apps and how they're being used, you can see that, again, a big proportion of people are using peer-to-peer payment apps. And I think a lot of folks are surprised by the amount of older adults who are doing them, but using them, and I'm talking about Venmo, I'm talking about Cash App, I'm talking about Zelle. Again, easy payment methods that are being used for different reasons. And we'll get more into those reasons in a second, but we can see this was one of the questions that we asked in 2020. 58% of people, of Colorado adults, were using peer-to-peer payment methods. Now that's up to 76%. So 3 out of 4 people have Venmo, Cash App, Zelle on their phone, maybe all 3, and they're doing this, using these things regularly. And I think when we did this survey in 2020, we asked this question specifically because there was a big rise in the amount of fraud that we were hearing around peer-to-peer payment methods. And so it was often a bright red flag of a scam if someone was using a peer-to-peer payment method to pay someone who they don't know. And so we really tried to do quite a bit of education about making sure that people know they can use these and they can be safe ways of transferring money, though they offer little protections. if you're doing those transfers with people who you know, someone who cut your hair, someone who you're splitting dinner with, someone who you're sharing the cost of tickets with, or whatever it may be, those are safe because you know that person, but they're not safe for buying something on Facebook Marketplace because you don't know if that product's ever going to show up at your door. So again, just knowing that people are using them, and I know that's why we asked the question in 2020. And I was curious about when we created this survey, I was curious about the uptick, and because I see it anecdotally at presentations that I do. And sure enough, 18% more people are using them now than they were back then. And so as we talk about these peer-to-peer payment methods, the most important thing that I'm concerned about is how you're using them. And I gave a couple examples just a minute ago, and so the ones that I'm not concerned about, people, again, we're sending money to a family member who they know. I'm not concerned about them splitting a bill or paying for a bill, or buying something for individual personal services, such again as like a haircut. But what the ones I am concerned about, and that we asked again, were about those riskier actions that you can take using peer-to-peer payment methods. And so you can see, again, purchasing an item on an online bidding site like eBay could be a risky step that you take, again, if it's not part of the platform. And so again, if people are buying things on eBay, we always suggest that you use that website, because there's protections available through eBay if you do. But if you don't, and they just say, oh, Venmo me and I'll send it to you, it becomes a little bit more dangerous. And so again, you see, and in my world, looking at this data, and said 32% of people in 2020 had done something like this, and that has gone down to 25%. So there has been some education. People might have also been the victim of a scam, and so they know that it's not always guaranteed if they're doing something like that. Same thing with purchasing a ticket for an entertainment or sporting event. Same thing with, again, making a donation that you're not positive about where it's going, but people aren't doing those type of riskier activities as much as they used to. But you can still see for all four of those that we asked about, 1 in 5 or 1 in 4 it's still happening. And so again, I envision more education still about that. The alarming one at the bottom there, that send money to someone you met online to help them, that stayed the same. Again, this is a situation that we're thinking about in terms of romance scams, or kind of the situations where people say they're going through hard times and they could be fabricating a story. And so again, a little bit alarming that that's still going on, kind of at the same percentage, but something to watch out for, and something that I think we have to continue to educate on, just because of the possibilities of fraud. And scammers know there's a very quick payment method and an easy one, and one that often, with the money's gone, the money's gone. So lots on peer-to-peer payment methods, just in terms of, again, who's using those and what's going on. So the next section is about kind of the scams, fraud, and identity theft. And so, a big takeaway here, the question that we asked on a scale of 0 to 10, how much do you worry about scams and fraud? And so again, the total 18 plus, we're looking at somewhere between 70 and 76%, whether it's you're looking at the whole population, or the 18 to 49, or the 50 plus. And you can see the 50 plus is most concerned. 3 out of 4 people that have a significant concern, they would rate from 6 to 10 about frauds, where only small percentages would rank their concern between 1 and 5. And so again, this is just kind of getting a pulse of where people are at in this world, and in Colorado, about scams and fraud. And you can see there's a major concern. So we also asked the question, and this is something that AARP has been asking in some of their national surveys as well. We were asking, do you think that fraud has hit a crisis level? And so again, 3 out of 4 Coloradans think that scams and fraud have hit a crisis level. And so that's very telling, again, when you take a step back and think about how people are approaching this subject. And another question that we asked was really about, do you feel that your personal information is more or less secure online today than it was in 2020? And so looking at that, you can see the the red category believes it's less secure, and so older adults are saying less secure more frequently than the younger population. 34% says about the same, kind of the standard, and then and that's across the board as well. And then some people, the smaller percentage, thinks information is more secure. I think this is, honestly, I will tell you, it's a tough question, because you think about the different type of tools that have changed, and the different types of ways that people are protecting their information, their identity. And so I think it'd be easy to make an argument for both ways, but it's a good way for us just to kind of judge what's going on, and again, their feelings overall about the security of their information, as well as if they think fraud or scams have hit some type of crisis level. So as I mentioned before, and again, the Attorney General's office is making this a big priority as well, is talking about identity theft. And again, on our list, identity theft was #1, and it has been for the last couple of years. And so there's a lot of people too, the question that we asked, how concerned are you about becoming the victim of identity theft? And you can see again, across the board, there's a lot of concern, again, a little bit more from the older adult population, as well as a little bit more from the female population. I really haven't gone into the male and female differences as part of the survey, but I'm sure that as we're looking here at the presentation, you can kind of see the variations that are there as well. But at the same time, again, it's gone up. It's pretty much stayed the same, just gone up a couple points. But 3 out of 4 Coloradans have a very or somewhat have noted their concern is very, very much or somewhat with regards to identity theft. So causes of worry and concern kind of vary among Coloradans of different ages, and so you can see the comparison here when we're kind of trying to drill down onto what the concern is. And so again, you can see the green represents the older adults, and the blue or the turquoise, whatever color it is, 18 to 49. And you can see again, for most of the top 3 categories, you can see on this chart, statistically significant higher concern about the rapid growth of fraud, having their identity stolen, or not being able. There's not enough being done to combat fraud in terms of the older adult population. I think a couple of the interesting ones at the bottom here, where the younger population pops up higher, is losing money. And so that doesn't surprise me, but at the same time, again, might not have as much money to lose. And so very concerned about that. And you see the very bottom one, a loved one being victimized. And so again, it's that concern that we have about our parents, about our family members, about our neighbors, about our older loved ones. And I think, anecdotally again too, talking to friends who are of the same generation as myself, there's a lot of concern about parents and older adults, grandparents navigating this world of fraud and the world of technology out there. And so I think that's reflected in that question as well. So when we asked this question, I noted that there was a lot of kind of others that people wanted to talk about with their concerns. And so the question was, is there anything else you worry about regarding scams and fraud? And this is kind of a spattering of some of the responses that we got. It made up about 10%, or 1 in 10 had additional sources of worry that they wanted to mention, in addition to the ones that were not on our last chart. And so a lot of them you can see have to do with AI, and have to do with the possibilities of making it much more difficult to know if something is real or not. And so I thought it was important that we, sorry, I did that mistakenly, that we just acknowledge that, again, it's on people's radar, that artificial intelligence, the Attorney General mentioned as well, with regards to certain types of scams. So we asked specifically about imposter scams, and they're very common among older adults. Again, you can see 6 out of 10 Coloradans have experienced some type of imposter scam. I will say that in our data, and you'll note, like in our top 10 list that I showed you at the very beginning, we parse out our imposter scams a little bit more granularly than they might at the Federal Trade Commission. And so anything really that where someone's pretending to be someone else could be an imposter scam, but we really kind of parse them out a little bit more. And so that and this is asking in the last 12 months, what context have you had in terms of imposter scams? And so that notification from a major shipping entity, that feels very low to me, in all honesty, because when I do a presentation, I will tell you 3/4 of the room, if not more, raise their hand. They received a text message from UPS or USPS in the last week. And I keep getting them too. And around the holidays, they get even more. Seems a little bit low to me, but at the same time, again, people as part of the survey acknowledge that that is the most frequent type of imposter scam they're dealing with. A representative from a well-known business, again, Amazon, Microsoft, those types of agencies and businesses are commonly use, PayPal. Representative from a government agency. You know, I started doing this job 9 years ago. It seems like almost every scam report that we got was those IRS imposter scams, and then it switched to the Social Security imposter scams. Again, they're not as frequent as anymore, as we hear anymore, but at the same time, they're still out there and oftentimes representing local government agencies as well, and you know, saying that you jury duty scam, that type of a thing too. Representative from a computer support, a virus protection company. Again, 1/4 of people have gotten one of those, and then someone posing as a family member, so such as a grandparent scam or another type of relation. So again, lots of different types of imposter experiences out there that people are dealing with that, again, we have to continue to warn folks about. So we're comparing, in this chart, we're comparing those who have had an identity theft experience. And so again, on the left-hand side, you'll see, have you or anyone you know ever experienced identity theft? And so that was a question that was asked. And you can see that the red category is myself. And so again, that number has grown since 2020. The yellow category is myself and someone I know have experienced identity theft. That has stayed the same, but the proportion of people who have had a direct kind of experience with fraud in that way, you know, is up to 21% as opposed to 15%. They know someone, 35% has stayed the same. And so again, just again, comparing what we saw from 2020 to 24, more identity theft related experiences. And we also asked the question in 2020, have you lost money as a part of one of these experiences? And you'll see here again that proportion has grown from 12% to 23% of those kind of direct experiences. I think that's noteworthy in this category. And again, more people acknowledging that someone who they know has been a victim of identity theft too. And so again, those numbers have continued to grow. And so again, it's not shocking to me just because the proportion of calls that we get now, our number one most common type of scam we would hear about in 2020 would typically be the business imposter scam. Again, people posing as Amazon. And now really the last 2 years, it's been identity theft more and more. And I think a lot of those relate back to data breaches and other types of issues that people have dealt with recently. So again, this question was, have you ever lost money to a scam? And it's the kind of those who have had money lost. You can see from age 40, it's actually more people have lost money as part of a scam. 42% and 35% who are part of the older adults. And I think it's interesting. I think anecdotally, I think too, and FTC reports the same thing, that younger people are more likely to be victimized by scams. But the real issue, you know, again, for our population is that older adults often lose significantly more money because they have more resources in a lot of situations. And so I think it's noteworthy. Again, we did not specifically ask how much money was lost as part of a scam, but we, again, just noticing too that this is a problem for everyone. It's not just older adults, but I think, again, everyone in this call knows that oftentimes older adults, and again, through the FTC's information as well, we know that older adults lose significantly more money as part of a scam. You know, we sometimes get those phone calls from people of all ages who are reporting a scam, and they will tell us, you know, something to the effect of, oh, you know, I Venmo'd someone, you know, $40 and I never got what I was expecting. And so, you know, example of someone who might be calling us to report a scam who's 18 or 19, that type of a thing. So just thinking about that in a lot of different ways. So another question that we asked, and I just mentioned it, was about data breaches. And so, you know, the question was, in the past 12 months, have you received a notification that your personal information was part of a data breach at a business, healthcare entity, or government agency? And so, again, we see fairly significant numbers. More people who are older adults have received these notifications. And I think that could be for a variety of reasons. Maybe more, I feel like there's been quite a few data breaches with regard to healthcare entities. And so older adults might have more exposure to healthcare entities to do that type of a thing. I also think a theory that I have on this as well is that maybe younger people don't notice their data breach notification. And so if it comes in the mail, I know that a lot of older adults are more diligent about checking their mail than younger folks are. And so I think they might be missing some of those notifications that are coming in the mail, or deleting emails that look suspicious because I think it's odd. I will tell you that, you know, not a week goes by where we don't get a phone call from someone on the ElderWatch helpline who is trying to verify if their data breach notification is real or not. And so again, that takes some extra research. I will say that, you know, those older Coloradans who don't have access to computers or not, you know, on the internet as frequently, they think oftentimes that snail mail that they received about the date of notification is a scam in itself. And so it's trying to do that research for them and figure out if their data breach notification is real. I haven't heard of a time or an experience recently where there are scammers who are, you know, creating fake data breach notifications, but I could see it happening at some point. Who knows? And so one of the things that we really wanted to hone in on too is that, so you get a data breach notification, but what are the actions that you're taking as a result of that data breach notification? And so you can see there on the bottom right-hand part of the screen, 1 out of 8 Coloradans with a data breach notification took 0 action. And so I'm not surprised by that, but at the same time, in my mind too, there's room for education. And so it's you know, and those long mailings that we sometimes get, or emails that we get about our data breach notification, gives us lots of information about things to do that we could possibly do. And so again, we're still finding out 1 in 8 decided to do nothing based on that. And you can see other actions that were taken a little bit promising in some regard. I'll say, you know, half of people thought it was a good idea to check their annual credit report. And so, you know, again, 45% of people signed up for the free credit monitoring offered by the organization that was part of the data breach. 35% of people contacted their banks or financial institutions. Again, they're trying to do their due diligence and figure out if there was anything that might have been compromised because of that. 31% placed a fraud alert with one of the credit reporting bureaus. Again, a step a little bit below the credit freeze, but also a really good identity theft protection step. And then 29% placed a credit freeze with 1 or more of the credit reporting bureaus too. And so again, an action that people are taking, a tangible action. And then the bottom one there, reported to your local, state, or national government. So again, good to see that actions are being taken with regard to these data breaches, but there's room for improvement, I think, in this category as well. So again, we asked, we took the information, which of the following actions did you take as a result of receiving notification from your personal information was part of a data breach? We paired that information with those people who also, whether they had lost money as part of a scam or that they didn't lose money as part of a scam. And so you can see it's in most situations, it's more likely those red bars are showing the action taken. And they also represent people who were had lost money as a result of a scam. And so again, pairing those actions taken with whether they had been victimized by a scam or not. And you can see we had just under 200 people as part of this survey who had lost money as part of a scam. And so you can see a significant greater proportion of them check their in-year credit report. The second part, signed up for free credit monitoring, is not necessarily the case, but again, 44% versus 28% checked checked with their financial institution or bank. 37% again placed a fraud alert with one of the credit reporting bureaus. So again, significantly more people are taking actions if they've had to deal with this before. And so they know the frustration involved with identity theft, and they want to kind of nip it in the bud by taking these actions. But again, you can still see at the bottom the amount of people who, there's still 10% of people who took no action, even though they had been victimized by a scam before. So I think it's helpful, again, just to understand the mindset and maybe the cautious nature of the people who have been victimized, that they don't want to be part of it again. And you can kind of see that reflected in this if they have been versus whether they haven't been victimized. So we also asked folks how they want to communicate with someone after they have been the victim of a scam. And so you can see some fairly significant differences, especially within the ages here. And I think it's interesting. Again, overall, we found out 53% of people prefer a phone conversation to receive guidance after they were victimized by a scam or fraud. And so again, that one-on-one contact, you will see though too, looking at that category, 49%, still 18 to 49 said they want that phone conversation. So almost half, and 58% of those 50 plus, again, want to have that phone conversation with someone who, with a trained specialist who can help give them next kind of action items. You can see email too, breakdown. Older adults have a larger preference than younger people for getting help via email through an online submission process. Again, younger people, this is more appealing to than older adults. Again, same thing, text messages. You can see younger people more interested in getting help via text message. That doesn't surprise me. Chatbot conversation, again, very low for older adults, but fairly significant. At least over 11% for younger folks as well, who might be more versed with kind of a chatbot as well. And then there's about 10% in all the categories too that said none of these. So but also some, again, knowing a lot of people don't report fraud too, I think is important. But again, the way that we are talking to people about fraud and having making sure that we still have helplines and hotlines and different ways of communicating obviously is important in this situation, especially for people who've just been victimized. They want a trusting voice on the other line. And then second would be email as well, or online submission process for the younger population. So the last section is really about prevention. And so we asked, folks what they're doing with regards to prevention. And, I would say that this question was about use of different passwords. And so in 2020, we had 60% of people who were using different passwords for all online accounts, and that dropped down to 50% in 2024. And so I think there's a handful of reasons why that could be, but at the same time, again, just trying to figure out where people are in the password world. And again, we're finding that older adults are a little bit more diligent in terms of having those different passwords than younger folks, and also looking at their likelihood of having different passwords if they're very or somewhat concerned about identity theft versus not or not at all concerned about identity theft. And so again, those people are more likely to take those steps and be more diligent in terms of checking their passwords and having different ones for all their online financial accounts. So if someone accesses your bank account, they can't get into your retirement account or whatever else it may be. So again, room for education on passwords. I mean, we all get frustrated with passwords, I know, but at the same time, it's a fact of life for the moment, right? So, and we asked about some other fraud prevention, in addition to passwords, we asked about some other fraud prevention strategies that are being used just generally. And you can see again that in some situations, there's more people who are older adults who are using these fraud prevention methods. And in other situations, there are more kind of like younger folks who are doing that, like within terms of passcode, password, facial recognition, fingerprint recognition on your devices, that type of a thing. Password managers, more younger people are using those. More older adults are using protective software, and more younger folks are using VPNs, and more younger folks are also using the multi-factor authentication. And you'll see too, 50% more of Coloradans are using robo-blocking services in 2024 than in 2020. I think partially just because they're more frequent and there's more of them out there and people know more about them now and they're sick of scam calls. But again, good to know just in terms of what people are out there using and where there could be some more education as well. So compared to 2020, more Coloradans are also ordering free credit reports. And so that's good news. That's one of the things we've been trying to talk about a lot with regards to identity theft. And so again, you can see here, in 2020, 28% had ordered a copy of their credit report in the past year. In 2024, 42%. So again, a fairly significant jump in the amount of people who are checking their annual credit reports and people who know the value in checking those credit reports as well. And so again, you can see 51% of the general population said several times a year, 23% said once a year, and then 16% said every few years. And again, there's also mishmashed with folks who are very or somewhat concerned about identity theft, not surprisingly, do this more often than those who said they're not concerned at all. But still a proportion, 44% said they're not concerned about identity theft, are still doing that several times a year. So again, another education point. These numbers can always go up if people, again, know how to do it and know they can do it for free, even on a weekly basis. So in line with 2020, again, you can see the headline here, credit freezes are used sparingly. And so again, in 2020, we had 22% of people who said that they had placed a security or credit freeze, however you want to call it. In 2024, 26%. So again, 1 in 4 people have placed a credit freeze before. And then we asked folks why, reasons for not using a credit freeze. So we asked those other 3/4 of the folks who have never done this before. 30% of people have never heard of it before. 24% of people said, I don't know how to do it. And then 22% of people said, I don't know how it helps me. 13% said it's not 100% effective. 11% said it's probably expensive. And 11% said it probably would take me too much time. And so again, and then at the very bottom there, you see 25% of people said they don't know why they didn't do it. They just didn't do it. Maybe they're a little bit lazy. I can see how that happens. That happens. But again, gives us a good, in my mind, this gives us really good information about lack of education around this subject. For example, one of them is saying it's probably too expensive. 11% of people say it's probably too expensive when there's no cost to it at all. And so again, I think there's room for education here. And if you have 30% of people who've never heard of a credit freeze before, again, lots of potential for education, and excited to be working on that in the future. So we also asked folks again to, how do you want to receive your information about the latest frauds and scams, if at all? And so for older adults, email was #1. And again, for younger adults too, if you look at comparisons, email was still #1 kind of across the board in this situation. Local news outlets rank up there pretty high as well. I think partnerships with local media makes a lot of sense. Text message alerts, more popular for younger Coloradans. Friends and family, again, more potential for younger Coloradans. This one actually surprised me. The in-person presentation, 14% of 18 to 49 was with the preference to that. And so again, there's still a way of getting information, webinars like we're doing today. And then there's a bunch of people who don't want to receive any information at all, which is fine, but we want to get it to them in some way, shape, or form. So so that is kind of like the end of the data. I went backwards and I put the executive summary at the back because I feel like it was a little bit cheating to have the executive summary at the beginning, because it then rains on the parade of all the rest of the information. But this is what the executive summary looks like. We're talking about, again, just to review a little bit what we've talked about today. Worry, concern about scams is very high. 3 in 4 Coloradans, believe it's at a crisis level again. So I think that's something that we have to acknowledge and something that we have to make sure that we're watching out for. And we know that there are more people who are have been involved with identity theft related issues. We know that people too would rather have that conversation about their next steps and reporting over the phone. Still, 53% of folks said that. Again, many Coloradans 18 plus have online access to their financial accounts, but they're not necessarily monitoring it. And so again, education abilities there. And then you can see again the growth in use of peer-to-peer payment apps. And again, making sure that people are not using those risky behaviors when they are using those peer-to-peer payment apps is another really great education potential, I think. And then again, the uses of passwords, facial recognition, using distinct passwords for your online accounts, I think very important as well. And also, again, learning that the receiving information via email is the most kind of popular way of receiving information about scams. And so now the typical very end of a presentation like this is the implications. And so I've been through a lot of this already, and so I'm not going to belabor it. But again, importance of distinct passwords, the benefits and risks of using peer-to-peer payment methods, explanation and initiation of credit freezes, I think really important, sustaining helplines to help people who experience scams, kind of meeting that person where they're at, how they want to communicate. And then, watching out for AI and understanding that that's out there, and we just have to keep an eye on it because it may complicate scams down the line. So in my mind, in my world, I said, Mark, what are our ElderWatch implications? How are we going to use this information and moving forward? Because there's a lot we can do, as you can see here. New consumer presentations, a lot of it based upon this data and being able to enhance that information, again, based upon representative surveys. Again, a continued focus on identity theft protection efforts and knowledge gaps. Again, such things as annual credit reports and credit freezes. Saw a major lack of knowledge around credit freezes, and I think that's something that our team is really going to embrace. And my colleague, Jessica Zawadzki, I know you're on. Jess and I are really going to, I think, hammer this one home and really work on credit freezes and make sure that number and that knowledge gap goes away in Colorado for people of all ages. Again, focus on communication and education preferences, and again, meeting people where they want to be met, and continued peer-to-peer payment education as well. And I think there's still a lot more data here that we can dig down into. So again, I'm looking forward to it and continuing to use this data. I hope folks on the line will use this data and use this research, to help inform the work that they're doing. I hope that this can continue to have legs, with this coalition, and we can think about the things that we found out about from Coloradans in a representative way, in hopes that, again, we're protecting more Coloradans from all the different types of scams that are going on out there. Just a couple of other quick things before I wrap up here. I think I'm still okay on time, which is great. So as the Attorney General mentioned, tomorrow we have a seasonal scams teletown hall with Attorney General Weiser. If you all have never been on one of these teletown halls before, they're a great way to get in front of a lot of people. So we dial out to tens of thousands of older adults in Colorado and have essentially like a call-in radio show presentation with the Attorney General, where he answers questions live on the air about different types of things that are going on, scams that people are dealing with out there. And so again, these are free to participate in. We and you probably have gotten this type of call before from maybe like your congressperson. But if you want to participate tomorrow, if you want to listen to my voice too for another 45 minutes, that's a good way of doing it. You can call in. There's a number on the screen right there too. It'll also be cast live on the AARP Colorado Facebook page. And so if you are on Facebook and you're able to follow AARP Colorado, you can go on their Facebook page, and that will be live for that hour-long conversation with the Attorney General about frauds and scams. We are also one of the things we didn't ask in this survey, and I think we had to limit the amount of things we asked because a lot of it was used for comparison data. So for instance, we wanted to ask about peer-to-peer because we had good questions in the 2020 survey about peer-to-peer payment apps, but we did not ask specifically about if people had been the victim of a scam involving cryptocurrency. And so this is a big problem, and I know a lot of people on this call know that. And one of the things that we are going to do in partnership with AARP Colorado is have a conversation about crypto ATMs and how they have and try to find some solutions to make sure that people are not losing money anymore to these crypto ATMs that are out there in all of our communities. So if invitations for this are going to start to go out this week. The meeting is going to be on December 12th. And if you are interested in this subject and you have a vested interest, I know a lot of law enforcement have been experiencing these type of situations with involving cryptocurrency and cryptocurrency ATMs. And so they're very interested in what's going on here as well. We are going to have, again, a stakeholder meeting where we're talking about this issue and potential solutions for, again, saving people their hard-earned money instead of having them insert it into crypto ATM machines, and then it goes into the wild blue yonder. Just a couple other points here. Again, the Attorney General mentioned the phone number for the Attorney General's Consumer Protection line, and so we're option 2 on that. And so if you didn't catch the number when he read it off, it's 1-800-222-4444. Again, ElderWatch is option 2. Stop Fraud Colorado is a great resource. It was nicely updated, and I know he mentioned that website while we had him on the call as well. You can always follow us on Facebook and kind of get the latest and greatest. We send out a monthly smart tips. But the target population it's just a one-pager, but it also has all of our education information that's coming out from ElderWatch in those emails too. But a lot of them are being used by local senior centers and area agencies on aging and different types of kind of local entities that they post in their at their meal sites and things like that, kind of with the scam of the day. And so the November one is about safe shopping online during the holidays, just to getting ahead of that as well. And obviously, you guys are all in some way, shape, or form connected with the Colorado Older Adults Financial Justice Coalition. The website's up there. Again, doing great work, and a big thank you to Dr. Chess and Jody for, again, organizing this wonderful presentation and giving the ability to share this information in hopes that, again, we can help protect some older adults just by knowing, again, what the heck is going on out there in this world. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions that I can answer. I don't know if there are any, but again, happy to take any questions. And please, again, shoot me an email too if you have any other thoughts or questions. I'd love to hear what people are thinking about with regards to this, or how they might use this information. But I think that's all I have. Dr. Chess, do you have anything else?
Mark, thanks so much. And as we'll sit here and see if some questions come in. But I did want to, major thank you to you. This work that you've done and shared with us is super revealing and informative. You and I have worked together for years. Every time I hear you talk, I learn something. So thank you. Thanks, Candace. Thanks, Bettina. Definitely thanks to the Attorney General, Phil Weiser, for coming. That was amazing. Also, while we're while we have some time, a quick thank you to not only APS, AARP, CRAP, but also and the Attorney General's office, but also the Department of Regulatory Agencies, the Denver District Attorney's Office, Denver Police Department, AgeWise Colorado, the Colorado Long-Term Care Ombudsman Program, the Denver Office on Aging. The Colorado Governor's Office has been a supporter and part of this collaboration. There are many, many others who have actually signed up and joined the collaboration, including a lot of other nonprofits and now a lot of financial institutions. So we're really happy about that. Highlighting work like this coming together to increase awareness, to increase prevention in this area, to talk about best practices, and to work on future solutions in prevention. So there's a lot to be done. I definitely want to thank everyone who's on today. So if you're interested in learning more, joining, so you've been given a lot of resources here. Get in touch with anyone in this group. We do all work together closely, and it is a true collaboration in the spirit of actual impact. So with that, I don't know, Mark, if you've seen any questions come through.
Yeah, there's a comment from Len too. Thanks for this, Len. Please be aware there have been reported scams from data breach letters asking people to go to scam credit centers. So again, something else to be watching out for. So I haven't got any calls like that, Lynn, but I really appreciate you bring that up, and I see lots of potential for that scam. So again, thank you so much for bringing that up, Lynn. I don't think there's any questions. I mean, I guess I just answered all the questions already, which is fine.
Well, you did such a comprehensive job, so I actually am not surprised at all. But sometimes people ruminate on these things, and so I'm glad that you provided all these resources. So thanks everyone. I guess we can then end a bit early, give some people a couple more minutes in their day. But so much appreciation for all of you and for everyone who's watching, and join us. Thanks, everyone.